Learn from us and do not do it this way. Do not recommend. We had issues with this, which you'll find out later in the video. Things are going horribly. Sand down all the windows again and try to restain. Look at how much tape we needed. Hi everyone, this is Lauren from the LKS Address and welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we've actually been working on an upstairs renovation to kind of get our upstairs back to square one, which included painting the walls, installing new engineered hardwood flooring, installing all new trim, refinishing our existing doors, adding door hardware, and the only thing left that we have not updated yet is our existing windows, which you can find behind me. All of the existing windows in our house are Pella windows, so they're great quality and they're actually in great condition. So rather than replacing, we're just going to bring them up to the style of our current house, and to do that, we're going to be refinishing them and updating them. So our existing windows are currently stained more of like an orange oak tone. We're going to be restaining those black, similar to what we did in our kitchen window, and then which is actually a really easy process, and we'll show a step-by-step on how we do that. And then we will be replacing some of the window hardware, the window trim, and as you can tell, we have a mismatch of different types of blinds in the house. So we're going to be ordering all new blinds for the house so that we can have a cohesive look everywhere. And with that, let's get started on this project. We're working on the final prep of the windows. We took down the blinds and all the hardware yesterday, and I patched the holes. Now we're gonna take down the trim, and we're actually gonna try and be really careful about the trim because we're gonna use these boards as a template for the new trim, which will hopefully make it easier and no measuring. Another quick thing, if you're doing this and removing trim and your trim is caulked on the drywall edge, you need to run a razor knife on, because we have wood trim, we don't have any caulking. So we're able to just rip it right off the wall. Because we're planning on using these existing boards as a template, as we take them off each window, I'm going to label the back of each piece so we always know exactly where they're supposed to go. We're gonna go through and remove all of the trim on all of the windows that we'll be refinishing. This isn't a necessary step, but for us, we were replacing the trim, and it will be a lot easier to stain the windows black without also having to work around the existing trim. Once all of our trim was removed and any holes were filled, it is time to sand these windows to prep for stain. We need to remove any of the existing finish. Here you see me using a 180 grit sanding block. Do not recommend. We had issues with this, which you'll find out later in the video, but we ended up using the 3M Extract sanding disc in 180. We find that the sanding discs, you can apply a lot more pressure and remove a lot more of the finish. Learn from us and do not do it this way. And the goal here is to sand every single part of the window that you're planning to stain, again, so you can get down to the raw wood and prep to receive the stain nicely. After we're done sanding, I always like to go in with a vacuum and try to vacuum up a majority of the dust. And now we will move to the next step, which is cleaning these windows and final window prep. So we finished sanding the windows. We switched off on them and just gave it a really light pass just to clean them up a little bit. Then we went in with the vacuum and vacuumed away most of the dust. Now we're going to use Crud Cutter to give them a really good clean. After we Crud Cutter, we're gonna tape them off so we don't get any stain or paint on the glass. And then we're gonna be ready for paint right before stain. Right before we stain, we're going to use the tap cloth to get off any of the last bit of dust. Here's a great taping hack that I saw on TikTok. If you use a metal knife and push it up to the edge where the tape is gonna end, you can rip off really clean. So doing those inside corners, taping the windows, goes so much faster when you use this method, and it was really clean. Also not pictured here, but I did tape off the vinyl sides of the windows where the mechanisms are, because anything that we do not want stained needs to be taped off. Now that all the windows are taped off and we've added a drop cloth and a plastic layer for protection, it is time to stain. We are using Varathane oil-based stain in the color Ebony. I'm applying it with a staining pad. However, after I did the first round, I much prefer a lint-free cloth. So you'll see me in the video switching from a staining pad to a cloth. I just feel like it's easier to get in any crevices. I also use a foam brush to get in any hard to reach corners that I cannot get with the cloth. All right, the first coat of stain went on and things are going horribly. The stain was extremely tacky, so I buffed it off based on what the internet said. But if you see here, it's not really penetrating, and it feels like the finish is still in the window. So downstairs, I didn't really sand the window that much to get the finish off, but upstairs, it's very evident that we did not sand enough. So therefore, we are going to sand down all the windows again and try to restain. There's like some spots where it took, but for the most part, it didn't. Downstairs, it literally only took 2 coats to get it pure black, and we are nowhere close on these windows, so let's kind of take a step back and start over. Okay, so windows, take 2. They're sanded down. You can see some of the stain did penetrate, but for the most part, it didn't. It looks a little dark on camera because of the light, but really didn't cover very well at all. So we have 1 more window to resand, and then it's time to stain again. Hopefully it goes better this time. And now that we're positive, we got the windows fully sanded down and all of the existing finishes removed. Let's start over with stain round 2. As soon as I started applying the stain, I could already tell it was going much better. And even in the video, you can probably see the stain looks much more matte. And that was the issue with the original stain. It was tacky and would not dry because it could not penetrate properly into the wood. Another quick tip if you're doing black stain like us, first off, you should always use oil-based stain for a very deep black color. Water-based stain is more transparent and you will not get this deep color with it. Secondly, I did wear gloves throughout the whole process, but I found that I needed 2 pairs of gloves to adequately provide protection. At first, my hands were all stained black, so I recommend trying at least 2 pairs of really thick rubber gloves while applying. I ended up doing 3 coats of the black stain. After 2 coats, I had really good coverage. However, there was just still some spots that were not fully coated. So I went in with a light 3rd coat to ensure that I had 100% coverage. After finishing the stain, I did a light sand before I did the final step, which is applying the poly. I like to use the Minwax polyacrylic water-based poly in the finish Satin. The can recommends applying this with a synthetic brush, so I used a 1.5-inch silver tip Wooster synthetic brush to apply, and this application worked great. It's also recommended to do 2 to 3 coats based on how high traffic of an area it is. We felt that we had adequate coverage and protection after doing 2 coats of the poly. These windows have been a journey, but it is finally time to take the tape off and get them put back together. We finished the stain, we finished the top coat with poly, and all we have left to do is reinstall the hardware, install new trim, and hang the blinds. Look at how much tape we needed to mask off all of these windows. It's insane. I think I went through like 2 to 3 rolls. Yesterday, we finally peeled the tape off the windows because we finished the stain and the poly, and now we're on to the next phase of the project, which is replacing all of the trim. We actually have to spray it first. We took the morning off, went to an estate sale, got some coffee, and now it's time to go set up our paint sprayer in our garage and get all the trim sprayed so that tomorrow we can cut it and set it and hang it so that we can get the blinds up. While we waited for the trim paint to cure overnight, it was a good time to work on the existing window hardware. All right, I cleaned all of the window hardware. I tried to find replacements, but because this is so old, there is just no good replacements. They're also really expensive. It's just not worth it. So we're going to be using this metallic brass spray paint. We've tried a bunch. This is by far the best. It really does have a metallic finish that looks like real brass. It does not look anything like the lid. You'll see that soon. Probably gonna do 2 coats of this, let it dry, and we'll be ready to get it reinstalled. After doing a couple light coats of the metallic gold spray paint on the existing window hardware, and now that it's dried, let's get it reinstalled. As we mentioned, we used the existing trim as a template, and we got all of the pieces cut. It was really, really quick, but we did run into a slight issue, so we'll talk about that upstairs. So here's the issue that we're running into with the new trim. Our new trim, which is a standard size, is actually slightly smaller than what was here, and we could have mounted it further out. However, we already measured the blinds based on the existing trim on the inside, so we had to keep the inside dimension the same. Therefore, we're left with some exposed, unfinished drywall, which we are going to, in turn, take our orbital sander real quick. We're gonna sand down this rough edge. Fortunately, there was never caulk there, so it should be okay. Then we're gonna do a quick roll of primer on it, and then we'll mount the window trim. After we got all of the new window trim hung, we did our usual trim regime, which is filling any of the nail holes with wood filler, caulking the edges, and doing one final layer of paint. And with that, it is time to hang our new blinds. We ordered light filtering roller shades from Select Blinds. These are in the color Jogging Path. They are a nice, warm off-white that complements really well with our wall color and our flooring. If you follow us on Instagram, you know there was a little bit of drama with these blinds. We ordered the fascia piece, which ended up being gigantic and came with a very large mounting bracket. We had to reach out to Select Blinds to get the more standard bracket, which can't be used with the fascia. So for now, we are just gonna deal with it with no fascia and potentially troubleshoot it in the future. Now that we've got the blinds installed, it is time for the finished window reveal. And with that, we're gonna wrap up the video here. We hope you enjoyed our black window staining video. We have so many exciting projects coming up, varying from the backyard, the front yard, the exterior of our house, and our family room. So if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel, thumbs up the video, and we'll see you next time.